Let's go to Steve from conservativemonster.com on line 4. Steve, welcome back to the Kuhner Show.
Hi, Jeff. First of all, those polls, the media is going to have an all-out assault on the Tea Party this summer. This we all know. But I'll tell you, I've been waiting for you to bring up fascism, corporate fascism again, because when you talk about it, I get the thrill up my leg like that other guy in MSNBC. All right?
Like sleazeball on softball.
Exactly. But you're the man to ask this question to, okay? The end of World War II, we saw what happened. Academia cleansed socialism and communism. They demonized fascism because they wanted to confuse people and think that they're all different. Okay, the question. Now, Hitler had his puppets running the corporation. So does Obama. Eventually, that's what his goal is. Now, do you feel like if Hitler would have won the war, he could have just woken up one day and said, "Hey, this is all mine, puppets," and now all those corporations will be. He could have just taken them over anyway. What do you think? Do you think he would have done that?
Steve, no, he wouldn't have for this reason, and I want to keep you on the line, Ray. Don't lose him, because obviously, Steve, you're a well-educated, well-read guy, and I really want to clarify this point. This was the evil political genius of Hitler. This is why people don't understand why Hitler was ultimately always more dangerous than Stalin. Because Hitler had a rudimentary sense of economics. What he understood was if you have a centrally planned, centrally governed economy, in which everything is completely nationalized, where you have public ownership of the means of production, as you had in the Soviet Union, it would lead to utter economic paralysis and devastation. Remember what Hitler rose to power on. He was the one that was telling the German people, look what is happening in Stalin's Russia. Look what the Bolsheviks are doing. They're liquidating private property. They're massacring people by the millions. They're devastating the middle class. They're seizing every company and factory in the Soviet Union. Do you want this to happen on German soil? To the German people? Led by these traitors? And they said no. And that's when they went for him in huge numbers. The great lie of the 20th century, see, this is the evil genius of fascism, is fascists understood you use the private sector to keep a socialist elite in power. This is what Al Gore understands. This is what John Kerry understands. This is what Barack Obama understands. You don't nationalize all the corporations in the sense of having them owned by the government. No, you just have to control them and regiment them. Because in the end, they're going to give you more revenue. They're going to make you wealthier. They're going to give you more tax money so you can spread the wealth around and buy up votes and political power. It's what Putin understood. Putin himself openly said it. He said the problem with communism wasn't our empire in Russia. It's that it was based on a communist economic base when it should have been based on a private sector base. And so that's what he's doing. What Putin is doing is in many ways what Obama is doing. They're birds of a feather. You control the media. You control and regulate industry. You put big labor, big government, and big business all together under the leadership of one man, one leader, one party. That's what Obama is doing. So what Hitler understood, this is what gave Nazism a better economy than the Soviet Union. And Steve, I really want to stress this point to you. This is the great lie of the 20th century. If there's one thing I want all the listeners to know, you can turn off the dials and never listen to me again. This is the one lesson I always taught my students. In the 1920s and the 1930s, the liberal intelligentsia in Britain, in Europe, but here in America, they openly celebrated and welcomed fascism. They looked at fascism and said, that is the wave of the future. Capitalism is dead. The traditional American republic is dead. Individualism is dead. Now, this is not just Jeff Kuhner making this up. H.G. Wells said, I have seen the future. It's in Mussolini's Italy, and it works. Every single one, the New Republic, the New York Times, they're embarrassed of this. Go back and read the New York Times in the 1930s. They were admiring and loving Mussolini's Italy and Hitler's Germany. In fact, much of the New Deal was based upon Nazi social policy. It was FDR who said, my God, look at Hitler. All these public works projects, it's working. Look at him, the Autobahn. Oh my God, they have these beautiful highways in Germany. Look, he's taken over the Volkswagen, the people's car. They now own the car industry. Look at the government, they control the banks. Look, they're giving out unemployment insurance. They're nationalizing healthcare. They're creating a cradle-to-grave welfare state. My God, they figured it out.
But excuse me, Jeff, can I just say one thing?
Go ahead.
Now today, the left, the communists that are here still, their argument is that communism does work. It's just we have never seen pure communism, and that's their argument also. So what's your point on that? Because they say we'll have total equality if there's pure communism. If people don't understand, they can look up that term.
Yeah, what they argue is this. This is the argument they keep making, is that we've never tried socialism in its pure essence.
Right.
This is their argument. So every form of socialism that's failed is because it wasn't done properly.
Right.
The problem with that argument is that they have tried pure communism. Cambodia was as close to pure communism as you could find. Literally, Pol Pot said, you cannot have intellectuals, you cannot have workers, you cannot have peasants. Intellectuals must work the land, peasants must come into the cities and be educated. And so literally they moved people from the countryside into the cities and people from the cities into the countryside. And millions of people were massacred. Anybody, if you had a little bit more money, you were killed. If you had a slightly higher IQ, you were killed. If you had any more skills than somebody else, you were killed. They tried that experiment in complete and utter equality. It failed because the problem with socialism is this. We are not all equal. We're equal in the eyes of God. We're equal in our terms of our human dignity. We're equal in terms of our rights. But we're not equal in terms of our talents, our skills, our abilities. Just as an obvious example, I don't care how many times I practice. I can work out 16 hours a day. I could never be an NFL quarterback. I just can't. I can't do it. And this is the problem we have in America. Everybody keeps saying, oh, anybody can be anything they want. No, they can't. They just can't. It's just, look, I don't care. I can study and study and study, and I cannot be a nuclear scientist or physicist. I don't have the predilection for science. I'm not scientifically oriented. I can't do it. I can't be a great artist. I can't draw for a hill of beans. You put a gun to my head. Steve, you come up to me and say, listen, Jeff, I'm going to massacre you. I'm going to massacre Ray. I'm going to massacre your entire family. You have to draw me a Picasso. I can't draw you a Picasso. I don't care if I was 20 years in art school. Now, I'll tell you this. If you just said, Jeff, forget your family, forget you, I may bump off Ray. I just may say, well, you know what, Steve?
I always get thrown in these master conversations, but let that go.
I just may say, you know what, Steve, I can't draw at all. I'm not even going to try. Go ahead, take my... No, I'm just kidding. But, Steve, the point is that it doesn't matter whatever aspirations you have, we have limitations as human beings. That's just a fact of life. That's what capitalism understands. That's what the free market understands. But the point is this, is that what fascism understood is that it played the primacy of race. This is what is so dangerous about fascism. This is what, in fact, the liberal left loved. They loved it. When Hitler said, oh, the Anglo-Saxon peoples, the Nordic, Northern European peoples, the Germanic peoples, they're a superior race. That's what Theodore Roosevelt said. That's what Woodrow Wilson said. That's what the eugenics movement and the pro-abortion movement in the 1920s was all about. Yes, you have inferior races. That's why you need contraception. That's why you need abortion. They hailed him for that. He was a social Darwinist on race. And for that they said he's progressive. He's modern. He's not Christian. He's a pagan. He's a secularist, like us. Now, after they saw the concentration camps, after they saw Auschwitz, after they saw the logical consequences of his fascism and his racial identity politics, then the left disowned him. Then no, he was a creation of the right. He was never a member of the left. But read their writings in the 1920s and the 1930s. They were all backing Adolf Hitler. It's why Chamberlain appeased him in Munich. What is Obama doing today? Look how he's demonizing the Tea Party movement. They're all a bunch of primitive reactionaries, racist scum, terrorists. It is the same thing. Look when they look at Tea Party movements, Tea Party rallies. Are you white? Are you black? Are you Hispanic? Look at their obsession with race. Except then they said Jew. Today they say white. Look at all these white people. How can you have so many white people at a rally? My friends,